thousands of years of work, life, structure blowing up with COVID. And a lot of people are trying to work out right now, where is it going and how that relates to property. Stay tuned. We'll talk about it right now. Michael Silich.
Good morning, Mark Novak. How are you?
Excellent. Real estate agent Michael Silich, dealing with hundreds and hundreds of buyers, more buyers than any other agent in the Northern Beaches.
What a plug.
Do you like that? Do you like that?
I did.
What are you seeing out there with work-life balance? Because I think have we been left with a better work-life balance since COVID erupted, or less?
Really interesting. I was driving to work this morning and I was just thinking to myself how quickly we get used to normality again. It was only a couple of years ago that the roads were quiet. No one was driving to work. Everyone was working from home. Everyone was scared to leave their house. I was just driving to work, sunny day, cold, but sunny, and just thinking, it's just crazy how normal it is being back on the road driving to work. And I think a big transition since obviously COVID, the work-life balance with it, with everyone working from home. I think for some people it's been amazing. I think for some people it's been absolutely shocking. But the thing that actually sparked the whole conversation about this was it's all starting to shift back now as well towards that sort of conventional work-life balance, that structure that we had previously.
Yeah, and look, I think it's really important, and how this unfolds, because a lot of people have made life-changing things in the last 1, 2, or 3 years, which is gonna, really gonna roll out the rest of their life. I think moving to Queensland is a huge one. I've spent a couple of days up here, and really had a good long hard look at how it's just, this place is just, have a look. This place has just exploded. The amount of development, the amount of infrastructure, and everything that's gone into the area. And a lot of people, I think, that have had that opportunity with work, Michael, have just thought, you know what, I'm just gonna. I don't need to be going to a CBD. I don't need to even be in Sydney in particular. I can take my money and run.
Yeah, I agree. And this is where it sparked the controversy with it, because I've been speaking with a couple of mates of mine who work at some of the big four banks, and some of those banks now are starting to roll out where these guys live remotely. Some of them moved out of Sydney because they can still work, not in the CBD, but for the big banks still. And now the banks are turning around saying, well, instead of having your attendance once a fortnight in the office, we're starting to roll it back towards 50% attendance. We want everyone in there pretty much half the week every week. And which is really interesting to see, because I think now that everyone's gotten used to and finally settled with this new structure, I think there's going to be pushback again, because people just don't like change, full stop. And moving back to what was normality before, I think some people are going to be excited for, and some people are going to be like, no, I actually like it the way it is now.
Oh, look, I do have to say, I think that the category that's been punished the most, in terms of age groups, I think would be the 18 to 25, maybe 18 to 28. That is, and I often do, like, I've got a 25-year-old daughter, and her Shani, her boyfriend Will, 26, and I talk about their work and stuff like what they're doing, and they're often talking about the old people in the office. They just don't have that one-on-one that you get, that learn. Like, there's so much to learn when you're those ages, and the inability to learn those things when you're not physically with a team, a group, and off, together. I think there's a bit of suffering there.
Yeah.
Like, how to talk to each other, how to work in teams and stuff like that. You get that structure through school, definitely, but it
Mm.
is a different structure when you get out to work. So I think if people want to really nurture an awesome young workforce, I think that 5 day a week thing, um, can be good. Having said that, I then look at my daughter's. She's in that creative space, digital,
Mm.
and those guys, it's they don't really labour on getting back to work like I think real estate was very different. Like we sort of went back to 5 days a week, 6 days a week, whatever, pretty quickly. But I think some
Mm.
industries are like, yeah, nah, we're not doing it. Like particularly creative.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And that's the thing. And then pulling it back into property with it, now that we're starting to shift again, because like you said before, everyone moved up to Queensland, everyone moved up to Central Coast, maybe down to Wollongong. People moved out of the hub of the Sydney CBD or surrounds and made life decisions based off that. And it's not a quick thing for someone to pick up and move. And now that they've made that decision, there's a bit of a lag if people are to move back as well. And it'll be interesting to see now that that structure is starting to change again. Are people going to start moving back towards the CBD? Are people going to start moving back towards those inner suburbs around Sydney? Or there's going to be resistance and they're going to say, no, we want to stay. We love these areas outside the Sydney CBD. We want to stay here now. Because we saw it. It drove a lot of price growth in all these areas outside. And now a certain area is going to boom or bust because of it. It'll be, yeah, interesting.
Look, there is a bus property market, and we, I think we feel because there was a price correction of 20% in the marketplace in a lot of areas of Sydney, that there's not that much more pain out
Mm.
there in the marketplace. But I distinctly remember, and Queensland's such a reminder for me because I remember Queensland having a whole bunch of unfinished towers and buildings and infrastructure and not infrastructure, structures.
Yes.
And I was going through thinking, man, like developers were just doing their ass, left, right, and centre. There was a period of
Mm.
that, and that is a bust market where that does happen. So I think that everyone's still got to be really careful with what they're doing. And look, I've just been blown away with how Queensland operates. And
Mm.
it does go back to exactly this core topic of today, where um, it's basically like I met a guy yesterday. He was in doing pizzas in the northern beaches in Eleonora, El Toro
Yeah.
pizzas, and he's come up to Palm Beach here and he done it. So completely changed that work life balance.
Mm.
Of he was looking at mortgages in Sydney, going, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. Came up here, thought he'll do not much and relax. Then realised he did love working, and then started a new business up here, a new pizza business,
Yeah.
and just absolutely smashed it. But I think we can, for a very short time, romantically think this is what we really want, and then reality sets in where you go, no, I do like, the structure of maybe 5 days a week, or I do like the structure of work. Not working sounds really, really attractive, but the reality is very different. And
Mm.
those thousands of years of culture that we've had, Michael, the thousands of years that's rolled us and developed us into people, I think we would be fools to think that 1 or 2 years is going to change that evolution of that thousand years. So have a good long hard think about it. Just because COVID happened,
Mm.
be careful.
Correct. Is that why you called the historian on your little title there? Because that was brilliant.
Yeah. Well,
But yeah.
I sort of had to, because it was. I looked at, like, what I'm 46 now, and I looked at just an evolution of a whole city. And when you're in Sydney, you sort of don't notice it because you're there all the time. But it was
Mm.
since I took that drive, that road trip. It's probably been about 7 or 8 years, and it's probably every 7 or 8 years we do a proper road trip. With parents and growing up, and with the kids. And man, this Queensland just a beast. It's a beast.
It's changed, and that's the thing. I
So
think
it's history.
that, yeah, that structure that we had before to now that new temporary structure we had during COVID, it's always going to be constantly evolving, and I think it is moving for the better as a balance. I think too much of one thing's not great. Those employee people just bring back. Yeah, that's correct, Lisa. So I think it's not a bad thing that people have got it sort of a blend of both now, especially depending like what industry you're in, such as your daughter, Mark, in that creative space, real estate agents, whatever you might be. I think that blend is where the magic is. But I think fundamentally that shift of where people are living, I don't think that's going to change just because of the lag. Once someone's made that move, it's very hard for them just to suddenly knee jerk and move back. And I think that's going to stay for a while.
Also, we've talked domestically. I think internationally is just important for property. And I do think we've emptied out our city, and I think we've emptied out Sydney.
Mm-hmm.
I think I know a lot of people have said it's just too hard, and I'm going north. So I think we're going to fill up Sydney a little bit more with immigrants coming from overseas, educated and not educated labour forces. So I think that's going to be interesting for the city of Sydney. There's going to be a new breed of people coming through with that sea change and tree change domestically coming in, and again going back to that work-life balance. It'll be interesting to see if we go back to maybe the old structure, or if the new thing is going to be, I get freedom of choice. It's attractive for that freedom of choice, but I don't think it's sustainably attractive. I think once you've got it, you're like, yeah, no, you know what? I sort of like going in to see everyone at work and meeting with my team and working together with my team.
And it's productivity as well. I think some people are more productive at home, but for the vast majority, productivity comes from being in the office. And I think that's the reason why with some of these big corporates and the big four banks, they wouldn't be bringing people back to the office for no reason. They would have run the numbers, gone, productivity is probably not where it was before. Let's start to bring people back and see where it goes from there. So I think there is definitely magic of being in the office as well. I'm biased towards it because we were lucky enough to work in the office the whole way through COVID. But I personally think it's great to have that separation.
And Luke Roney made a comment. I'm just looking for that comment about the balance. And this supports what you're saying, Michael. I think there are people that are. It's that balance is sort of inside. You can find it. You know what I mean? Like you can. And everyone's is different. It's not sort of one size fits all.
Yeah, it's very true. You can work from home, and you can work from home and be an absolute workaholic, and you can work at work and in an office and get absolutely nothing done. It's up to you.
It's true. Anyway, guys and girls, that is talking about the work-life balance that often comes up around a barbecue with friends and family, and then how that relates across to property. And I do think that old adage of supply and demand, boy, there's a lot of supply up here. Being able to build vertical, it's an incredible thing. So this and Sydney really is very, very limited with its supply. I think that's a good thing. I think that rarity is a really good thing for good price growth and good rental growth. But then again, building out a massive city and adding multiples and multiples of properties, it makes for a happy place. Interesting.
It is. Perfect. Thank you, Mark.
Have a great day. See you, everyone. Take care.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.